All names, characters, and events in this story are entirely fictional and created for entertainment purposes only. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning. I almost didn't pick it up. There was no return address. Just my name, printed, not handwritten, and my home address. And inside, 3 pages of numbers that I will never forget. My son is 12 years old. I was in the delivery room when he was born. I cut the cord. I held him before his mother did because she was still in recovery. I watched him take his first steps, in this exact apartment, on this exact floor. I took him to the emergency room at 2 in the morning when he had a fever of 104. I sat in those plastic hospital chairs until 4 a.m., holding his hand, telling him everything was fine. I have paid for 12 years of his life. Clothes, school, birthday cakes, soccer cleats that he outgrew in 3 months, a telescope he used for 2 weeks and then forgot about. 12 years of being his father in every way that word has ever meant anything to me. And that envelope told me he was not biologically mine. But that's not the part that broke me. The part that broke me was what I found out after. Because this wasn't just a betrayal. Someone had planned this. And by the time I understood how far the plan went, it was already too late to undo any of it. Stay with me, because this story goes deeper than you think. My name is Daniel. I'm 39 years old. Though if you asked me who I was a year ago, I'm honestly not sure I'd give you the same answer. I met Valerie in college. Sophomore year. October. A Tuesday, actually. I remember because there was a midterm the next morning that I had completely stopped thinking about. The moment I saw her across the room at a mutual friend's apartment. She was studying education. She wanted to teach. She talked about it the way some people talk about a calling. Not a job they were planning to do, but something they were already doing in their mind. I found that magnetic. Still do, if I'm honest. I was studying logistics management. Not exactly magnetic. But it paid well. And it turned out I was good at it. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. Small ring. Big moment. She cried. I cried. The dog we didn't have yet would have cried too, probably. We got married in the spring. 40 people. A rented hall. Her aunt made the cake. Nothing extravagant. Everything real. For the first 5 years, we were the couple people pointed to. They make it look easy, people would say at dinner parties. I thought they were right. I thought we were the exception. I thought we had figured out something most people hadn't. I was wrong. But I wouldn't know that for a long time. Matteo was born in the 7th year of our marriage. We had been trying for 2 years. There had been one pregnancy before him that didn't make it past 8 weeks. So when Matteo arrived, healthy, loud, furious at the world for the first 10 minutes, I felt something I didn't have a word for. Not just happiness. Something older than happiness. Something that felt like a door I hadn't known was closed had suddenly opened. He was a good kid. Still is. Stubborn. Curious. The kind of 12-year-old who will ask you why something works. And then, when you explain it, ask you why that works. It drives you crazy in the best possible way. He started playing soccer at 6. He quit at 9 because, quote, the other kids weren't taking it seriously enough. He then spent 3 months trying to teach himself guitar, before moving on to building model airplanes. And then to his current obsession, which is ancient Roman history. He told me once, completely unprompted, while we were eating lunch, that Julius Caesar was kind of like a really smart influencer who went too far. I thought about that for 3 days. He is the reason I took so long to tell this story. The reason I hesitated to order the test. The reason I still, to this day, cannot fully answer the question of whether I did the right thing. But I did it. And what I found changed everything I thought I understood about my own life. Let me take you back to about 6 months before the envelope arrived. My father-in-law Albert was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Stage 3. The kind of diagnosis that doesn't really leave room for denial. Albert was a specific kind of man. Old school in a way that wasn't a cliché. It was just who he was. He had built everything he owned with his hands and his stubbornness. He didn't ask for help. He didn't accept pity. He had opinions about everything and kept most of them to himself. Until he decided you had earned the right to hear them. I always felt like he respected me, but I was never completely sure. With Albert, you were never completely sure. When the illness progressed, he did something nobody expected. He called a family meeting. Not a casual Sunday dinner. A formal, sit down, everyone present and accounted for family meeting. Valerie and I drove 2 hours to get there. Her brother Marco and his wife. Her sister Lisa and her husband. Everyone at the same table for the first time in years. Albert sat at the head of the table. He looked smaller than I remembered. The illness had taken something from him physically. But his eyes were the same. Sharp. Certain. Watching everything. He told us he had been thinking about what he was going to leave behind. The house. A savings account built over 40 years. A piece of land outside the city that had been in his family for 3 generations. And then he said something that I stored in the back of my mind without fully understanding why. What I have belongs to my bloodline. To my grandchildren by blood. Those who carry my name forward. No one else. Only them. Nobody responded. There was a moment of quiet that felt slightly too long. And then the conversation moved on. But I couldn't let go of it. Not because of the money. I genuinely didn't care about the inheritance. What I couldn't let go of was the specific word he used. Bloodline. Not grandchildren. Not family. Bloodline. Albert adored Matteo. Called him every Sunday. Took him fishing every summer. Had Matteo's school photo on his refrigerator next to nothing else. So why make that distinction at all? Why use that specific word in a room full of people who already knew they were family? I told myself I was overthinking it. I pushed it aside. And for about 6 weeks, I almost forgot about it entirely. 6 weeks after the meeting, Valerie and I were at her parents' house for a Sunday visit. Her sister Lisa was there too. Albert was resting. We were in the living room. Lisa had pulled out a photo album from when Matteo was born. We were flipping through it, laughing at the old hairstyles, commenting on how small Matteo looked. Normal Sunday afternoon stuff. And then Lisa turned a page and stopped. She looked at one particular photo. A close-up of Matteo at about 3 months old. Just his face. Eyes open. Completely alert. And she said, almost to herself, in a voice just low enough that she might have hoped nobody caught it. He looks more and more like. She stopped. Valerie looked at her. Just for a moment. A fraction of a second. But I was watching. And in that fraction of a second, something passed between them. Not words. Just a look. The kind that only exists between 2 people who share a secret. Then Lisa smiled, smoothly, and finished the sentence. The Daniel side of the family. He has your jaw. I smiled. Said something like, poor kid. Everyone laughed. We moved on. But that look, that half-second before the sentence finished, that look did not leave me. It followed me home that evening. It was still there when I got into bed. It was there at 3 in the morning when I woke up and couldn't explain why. I told myself, for days, that I was imagining things, that I had Albert's strange comment still rattling around in my head, and I was connecting dots that didn't connect. That Lisa had simply paused while searching for the right word. That there was nothing there. I almost convinced myself. And then I found the message. It was a Wednesday morning. Valerie was in the shower. I was in the kitchen making coffee. Her phone was on the counter, face up. I was going to plug it in for her. It was at 11%. When I picked it up, the screen lit. A message notification. The preview was visible. The contact name, Caro from the gym. And the preview text read, "Don't stress. He's never going to find out. He's too trusting for that." I put the phone down, plugged it in, poured my coffee, and stood at the kitchen window looking at the street below for I don't know how long. Valerie came out of the shower. I handed her the coffee I had made her. She kissed me on the cheek, said she had a meeting at 9. I said okay. Have a good day. She left. That evening I asked her casually who Caro from the gym was. Her answer came without a single hesitation. Just a friend I met in the Tuesday class. We've been grabbing coffee sometimes after. Clean. Smooth. Not rehearsed. Natural. Like someone who had been telling small versions of this truth for long enough that it no longer felt like lying. I checked our shared location app that night. We had set it up 3 years earlier when Mateo started school, just for logistics. I had never thought to look at it for any other reason. On Tuesdays at the time she said she was at the gym. Valerie was consistently at an address in the city center. An apartment building. Not a gym. I went back 3 months in the location history. Every Tuesday. Same building. Same approximate time window. Sometimes Wednesday evenings too. Sometimes a Saturday morning when she said she was running errands. I sat with that for 2 days. Not because I needed more evidence. I had enough. I sat with it because once I did what I was thinking of doing next, I couldn't undo it. And I needed to be absolutely certain I was ready for what the answer might be. On the 3rd day, I went to a pharmacy across town. Not the one near our house. A different one. Paid cash. Bought the most discreet DNA test I could find. And I waited for the right moment. It came 4 days later. I didn't open the envelope alone. I knew I couldn't. Not because I was afraid of my own reaction, but because I needed a witness. I needed someone else in the room so that what I was about to read couldn't be explained away later as something I had imagined or invented. I went to my friend Marcus's office after everyone else had left for the day. Marcus has known me since we were in college. He's one of maybe 3 people in the world I would trust with this. I handed him the envelope without saying anything. He looked at it. Looked at me. Opened it. He read it. I watched his face. He's not an expressive man. But something moved across his face that he couldn't control. Just for a second. And then it was gone. He handed me the pages without speaking. Probability of biological paternity, 0%. Not 4%. Not a margin of error. Not results inconclusive. 0. Mateo was not my biological son. I don't remember crying. I don't remember saying anything for a long time. Marcus made coffee. I sat in his office chair and looked out the window. And I thought about Mateo. Not about Valerie. Not about the man who was biologically his father. Just Mateo. I thought about the night he was born. About the first time he grabbed my finger. About the way he still, at 12 years old, reaches for my hand. When something confuses him or scares him. Not consciously. Just automatically. Like it's muscle memory. And in that moment, sitting in Marcus's office with those 3 pages in my lap. I made a decision. Not about Valerie. Not yet. Just one decision. Whatever happened next, Matteo didn't lose a father. That was the only thing I was certain of. That same evening, I called Albert. Not to tell him what I'd found. I wasn't ready for that conversation, and honestly, I'm not sure it would have been right. Albert was dying. He didn't need this. I called because something had been sitting in the back of my mind. Since that family meeting 6 months earlier. The word, bloodline. The speed with which the will had apparently been discussed. I needed to know where things stood legally before I decided anything. Albert, I said, has the will been signed? There was a pause. Not a long one, but a pause. Yes, he said. 3 months ago. It's all taken care of. And Matteo is included? Of course. He's my only grandson by blood. Everything goes through him. I thanked him, said good night, told him I'd see him soon. And then I sat in the dark for a very long time. Because I had just understood something. Albert didn't know the truth. Albert had signed a will leaving everything to his bloodline grandson. Because he believed Matteo was exactly that. But someone had made sure that will was signed and finalized. 3 months ago. 3 months before I found the test results. 3 months before I ordered the kit. 3 months before anyone had any reason to believe I was asking questions. Which meant someone had anticipated this moment. Someone had moved first. I called Valerie's brother Marco that night. We had always gotten along. He was the kind of brother-in-law you actually liked. Easy to talk to. Funny. Uncomplicated. Or so I had believed. I kept it simple. I asked him directly. Marco, how long have you known? There was a silence on the line. 5 seconds. Maybe more. He hung up. He didn't answer. He didn't deny it. He didn't ask what I was talking about. He just hung up. And in that silence and that click, I understood everything. This wasn't just a betrayal. This was a family that had known. For how long, I didn't yet know. But they had known. And someone, at least one person, had made very deliberate decisions. To protect a secret that had cost me 12 years of my life. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room until the sun came up. Going through everything. The test. The will. The phone call. The look between Valerie and Lisa. The family meeting and the word, bloodline. The years and the moments and the versions of my life that I was now looking at. Through a completely different lens. And the question that kept coming back, the one I couldn't answer, was not the obvious one. It wasn't, who is the biological father? It wasn't, how long has Valerie known? The question was, what do I do now? Because I had a lawyer to call. And what that lawyer was going to tell me in the morning was something I had not even considered. A legal reality that was going to make everything, the betrayal, the DNA, the grief, feel almost simple by comparison. That's where part 2 begins. If you're not subscribed yet, now would be a good time. Because part 2 goes somewhere I genuinely did not see coming. And I don't think you will either.